Quarter-life crisis, the lost map for the 20s. Everyone said I'd figure it out by now. Maybe I missed the lesson. Maybe I was sick that day. The day they handed out the manual for adulthood, the instruction booklet that tells you what you're supposed to be doing at 25, 27, 29, the one that explains how everyone else seems to have their life together while you're still Googling how to know what you want to do with your life. At midnight on a Tuesday, there's this specific panic that hits you somewhere in your 20s. It's not the teenage anxiety of not knowing who you are. It's worse. It's knowing exactly who you are and having absolutely no idea what to do with that information. It's being old enough that people expect answers from you, but young enough that you still feel like you're pretending to be an adult. Welcome to the quarter-life crisis. We're all lost together, and somehow that doesn't make it any less terrifying. The mythology of having it together. Here's what they told us. Go to school, get good grades, go to college, get a degree, get a job, build a career, find your passion, make a difference, change the world. And somewhere in there also fall in love, buy a house, start a family, travel the world, maintain friendships, stay fit, eat healthy, build a personal brand, and become the best version of yourself. Oh, and figure it all out by 30. Because after 30, apparently you're supposed to have arrived. You're supposed to know what you're doing. You're supposed to be somebody. But here's the thing nobody mentioned. What if you do everything right and still feel completely lost? What if you got the degree and the job and you're still waking up every morning wondering if this is it? If this is what you're supposed to be doing with the one life you have? What if you followed the map exactly as drawn and ended up somewhere that doesn't feel like home? The term quarter-life crisis was coined in 2001 by psychologists who noticed a pattern. People in their mid-20s to early 30s experiencing significant anxiety, uncertainty, and questioning about their identity and direction. But it's gotten worse. A 2017 study found that 75% of people aged 25 to 33 have experienced a quarter-life crisis. 3 out of 4. You're not alone in feeling lost. You're in the majority. The paradox of infinite choice. They said follow your passion. Like passion is a thing you just have, sitting in your pocket, obvious and clear. Like one day you wake up and a voice from the sky tells you exactly what you're meant to do. And from that moment forward, everything makes sense. But no one said what to do when you can't find it. When you look inside yourself for this mythical passion and find nothing but confusion and a vague sense that you should want something more than you currently do. And here's the cruel irony. We have more choices than any generation in human history, and it's paralyzing us. Our grandparents had maybe 3 job options in their town. They picked one and stuck with it for 40 years. Was it fulfilling? Maybe. Maybe not. But the question didn't torture them because there wasn't an alternative reality constantly visible where they could have been something else. We have infinite options. We can be anything, do anything, go anywhere. And instead of freedom, it feels like drowning, because every choice means closing 1,000 doors. Every path you take means abandoning countless others. And how do you know you're choosing the right one when you haven't lived long enough to know what right even means? Psychologist Barry Schwartz calls this the paradox of choice. When you have too many options, decision-making becomes agonizing. You're never satisfied because you're always wondering if you made the wrong choice. If the other path would have been better. If you're wasting your life on the wrong thing. So you freeze. You scroll through job listings without applying. You research career paths without committing. You stay in situations that don't fulfill you because at least they're familiar. At least you're not risking making the wrong choice by making a different one. The comparison spiral. And while you're frozen, trying to figure out your next move, everyone else seems to be sprinting ahead. Your college roommate just got promoted. Your high school friend is engaged. Someone you barely knew is traveling the world and posting about it. Another person started a company. Someone else published a book. And you? You're still trying to figure out if you even like your job. Still wondering if you're in the right city, the right relationship, the right life. Still feeling like everyone got a head start except you. Social media has turned the quarter-life crisis into a spectator sport. You're not just comparing yourself to your immediate circle anymore. You're comparing yourself to everyone. To influencers living highlight reels, to entrepreneurs selling you their success story, to everyone who figured it out early or got lucky or was born into the right circumstances or just seems to have their shit together in a way you don't. And the algorithm feeds you exactly what will make you feel worst about yourself. Because engaged users are profitable users. And nothing engages you quite like the sinking feeling that you're behind, that you're failing, that you're wasting your 20s while everyone else is thriving. But here's what you don't see. The promoted friend is burned out and questioning everything. The engaged person is terrified they're making a mistake. The traveler is running from problems back home. The entrepreneur is drowning in debt. The published author spent 5 years getting rejected. Everyone's pretending. Everyone's curating. Everyone's showing you the destination and hiding the messy, confusing journey. And you're comparing your behind the scenes to their highlight reel and concluding that you're the only one who's lost. You're not. We all are. Some of us are just better at hiding it. The pressure to perform your life. There's this weight that comes with being in your 20s now. It's not enough to just live your life. You have to perform it, document it, prove it's worth living. Every experience is measured by how it'll look online. Every achievement only counts if other people see it. You're supposed to be building a personal brand, networking, optimizing your LinkedIn, creating content, side hustling, monetizing your hobbies, turning your passion into profit. Because just having a job isn't enough anymore. You need a career, no, a calling, no, a purpose-driven life that also generates passive income. The previous generation worked to live. We're told to live to work, but make it look effortless and inspiring. Be successful but humble, ambitious but balanced, driven but also prioritizing self-care. Have it all figured out, but also be authentic about your struggles, but not too authentic because that's not marketable. It's exhausting. And it's no wonder we're all having existential crises by 25. We're not just trying to figure out who we are and what we want. We're trying to figure out who we are and what we want while performing it for an audience that's judging whether we're doing it right. The question nobody asks. Here's what nobody talks about. What if you're not supposed to have it figured out? What if the pressure to know your path by 25 is a recent invention? What if the anxiety you're feeling isn't because you're behind, it's because the timeline is bullshit? For most of human history, people didn't find themselves in their 20s. They survived, they worked, they lived in the same place their whole lives doing the same thing their parents did. The concept of a quarter-life crisis didn't exist because the concept of having endless options and needing to optimize your life path didn't exist. This is a new problem, a first-world, late-stage capitalism, Instagram generation problem. And maybe instead of trying to solve it, instead of frantically searching for the right answer, the right path, the right version of ourselves, maybe we need to question whether the problem itself is real. What if there is no right path? What if you're allowed to try things and change your mind? What if your 20s aren't about figuring it all out, but about experimenting, failing, learning, pivoting? What if the map you're looking for doesn't exist because you're supposed to be making your own? Learning to walk without a map. Maybe it's not about the map at all. Maybe it's about learning to walk without one. I know that sounds like a motivational poster, but stay with me. Because the most successful, fulfilled people I know didn't follow a clear path. They stumbled, they changed directions, they took jobs they quit a year later, they moved to cities they left, they tried careers that didn't work out, they failed in ways that taught them what they actually wanted. The path only makes sense looking backward. In the moment, it just feels like chaos, like you're wandering in the dark hoping you're going the right direction. But that's the point. That's what your 20s are supposed to be. Not a straight line from point A to point B, but a messy, winding, confusing exploration where you learn by doing, by trying, by getting it wrong. You don't find your passion sitting still. You find it by moving, by saying yes to things that scare you, by trying the thing you're curious about even if you're not sure it's right, by giving yourself permission to change your mind, to pivot, to admit that what you thought you wanted isn't what you actually want. The Japanese have a concept called ikigai, your reason for being. The intersection of what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. But here's the thing, you don't discover your ikigai by thinking about it. You discover it by living, by trying different things, by paying attention to what energizes you and what drains you, by noticing what you do even if nobody paid you. Your ikigai isn't waiting to be found, it's waiting to be built, slowly, through experimentation, through failure, through the accumulation of experiences that teach you who you are and what matters to you. The permission you're waiting for. So here it is, the permission you've been waiting for. You don't have to have it figured out. Not at 25, not at 30, not ever, really. Because life isn't a problem to be solved. It's an experience to be lived. And the minute you think you've figured it out, something will change, and you'll have to figure it out again. You're allowed to not know what you're doing. You're allowed to try things and quit. You're allowed to change your mind about what you want. You're allowed to take the job that doesn't look impressive on paper, but teaches you something valuable. You're allowed to move back home. You're allowed to start over. You're allowed to be a work in progress. The people who look like they have it together, they're figuring it out too. They're just further along in their specific journey, which is completely different from yours. Comparing your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 20 doesn't make sense. You're not behind. You're exactly where you are. And where you are is exactly where you need to be to get to where you're going, wherever that is. Maybe the quarter-life crisis isn't a crisis at all. Maybe it's an awakening, the moment you realize that the script you were handed doesn't fit your life, that the map you were following leads somewhere you don't want to go, that you have permission to put it down and walk your own path, even if you can't see where it leads. Maybe it's not about the map. Maybe it never was. Maybe it's about learning to trust yourself enough to walk into the unknown, to be okay with not knowing, to find comfort in the discomfort of becoming. You are not lost. You are becoming, and that's exactly what your 20s are for.